Xochimilco. It was really beautiful when we arrived. It was kind of stunning, all the boats that were so colorful and pretty, all lined up, waiting for passengers. And when we went on the boat ride, it was very relaxing, very pleasant. We were lucky that we had mariachi bands playing for us almost the whole time.
Volaron cuatro palomas por toditas las ciudades. Hoy por este día de su santo le deseamos felicidades. Este día voy a adornar hoy por ser día de su santo.
And it was just a really kind of felt like the experience of being in Mexico. Like we tried some of the roasted corn, and we had the mariachis, and we were having this nice boat ride. So that was one of my favorite activities.
When we arrived at Xochimilco, you could see like all the boats. It was just like covering the river or lake, and it didn't even look like a river. It just looked like there were a whole bunch of boats. Like you couldn't even see water. And then the boats were very colorful. It was very nice view when we got on. Then like the mariachi came over, and we paid, I think it was just like 600 pesos to play a couple songs that we could request. And then there was also the food vendors, like the corn place, which was very good. There was like seasoned corn with like cheese, like spices, which was very pleasant.
At first, when we first got there, I was a little confused because there were so many boats there, and I was kind of thinking like how are we gonna get out of here? But we managed to, and I thought it was really interesting how they were explaining how parts of Mexico City used to be like there was a lot more like bodies of water. I thought that was pretty interesting. And we heard the mariachis, as we did many times after, but it was nice. I liked it.
I thought that it was really interesting seeing the difference in culture of, like, especially with like the mariachi bands and that type of thing. It was interesting seeing like that people were making their livelihood on boats off of like tourism, like how much tourism tied in with how people were like making their livelihood.
Well, I really liked Xochimilco. It was a very colorful place with very multicolored boats with their own name, and we floated on the boat, and mariachis came and sang to us and down a stream, and it was very pleasant. However, our guide was very derelict in not telling us that this had a deep historical meaning. At one time, Mexico City was totally water, and so the indigenous people brought rafts, put soil on the rafts, and grew trees that plunged the roots into the ground under the water, and then grew crops there. So it was actually a big agricultural place.
Frida Kahlo's house was really nice. You came into almost like this very serene kind of paradise location. The rooms where the artwork were, the galleries, was a little crowded, so I did feel like I missed some of the artwork, but overall it was lovely to be there.
I guess a courtyard when we walked in, and there's like the house and surrounding it, and it was a really beautiful courtyard. And we walked through to the first part of the museum, and there were some stuff that I wasn't as interested in, like her kitchen, but then there was like parts where you could see the art she had, and like her like dresses and stuff, which was cool.
I enjoyed going there. It was a small, kind of a smaller museum, so it was a little crowded in some of the rooms, but I guess that's just because she's popular. They had a lot of things about her life, and in Spanish class we studied a little bit about her, and I didn't realize kind of like the extent of her injuries, but after going to the museum we learned more about that, so I thought that was definitely interesting.
We were all super tired when we got to the Frida Kahlo Museum, so I don't think that we got to fully experience it because of our energy levels, but from what I did, like actually like what I remember about it, I liked it. I especially like the color blue. I have it as the her signature color blue. I have it as the background in my phone right now because I really like the color that much. So yeah, they were like good moments and like highlights of it. Like I really liked hearing about the history of Frida Kahlo, and because you always hear about like who she is and like she's just one of those famous people, but you don't actually know necessarily what she did. So learning about exactly what she did and like how she helped Mexico was interesting.
Well, I really like Frida Kahlo's house, and I like her art a lot. Unfortunately, there are 5 million tourists there, and that's an exaggeration, but it's a very popular place. And so sometimes to see a picture, I was behind, 5 or 6 people just trying to see this picture. So the crowdedness was a problem, and the other problem was we did it at the end of a day when we had met our tour group at 8 o'clock in the morning. And so it was 5 o'clock, and we were very tired. So we would have enjoyed Frida Kahlo's house a lot more had we been a little more refreshed. But other than that, the thing that I noticed most, I never knew how much pain Frida Kahlo was in all her life. And it showed all the braces. The museum showed all the braces that she wore. And the poor woman just suffered for her whole life. And yet she went on and became a great artist and had a very interesting life.
I really feel like I didn't get to see the paintings the way I would have been able to if there hadn't been so many people kind of in the way, especially her small paintings. But she is a marvelous, marvelous artist, a terrific painter. And I'd like to go back again some other time and get a chance to really examine and look at those paintings for a longer time and really enjoy them.
The university was interesting. The mosaics were really beautiful. They were very impressive, beautiful artwork, and it was nice because Tristan remembered that was a World Heritage Site, and that's something he had been studying in school.
The university was very big, and you could see like all the art made from like the volcanic stone. I wish we could go in the stadium, but obviously we didn't have time to, and it was already such a long trip in the first place. But it was cool seeing the biggest stadium in the world, soccer stadium in the world. And then we went to the university and we saw that main building with all the like mosaic art, which was really cool.
Soccer, say anything about soccer, and I like it. Yeah, I definitely like seeing the soccer stadium. I would have liked to go inside. I thought that would have been really cool, but even seeing it from the outside is pretty cool. The university I like too. They had this big mural, I guess a mural type thing, and they said it was mosaic, I'm pretty sure, and it was like this big thing, like the face of a house almost, like one side of a house. It was really big, and I thought that was it must have taken a lot of time, so that was really cool.
The soccer stadium we didn't really get to go into, which I was a little disappointed about, but it was ginormous. They used the stone that they dug up to build the stadium, so it gave it like it gave it a much different look than normal soccer stadiums that you usually see, and the fact that it was so big was awesome.
Well, I had seen so many pictures of the university with its mosaic buildings, and so I really enjoyed seeing it in real life. And it was quite pleasant there on the lawn with a lot of people, a lot of families come, and I saw, many families sitting there on the lawn and with their young children, and it was nice to see the Mexicans that play. My grandchildren love the soccer stadium, but I am not into soccer stadiums, so it was just okay.
We went to the university, and they had the most beautiful mural in the form of a square building that had murals on all sides of it, and the murals were extraordinary. I guess they represented different mythological aspects of Mexican culture, and I really loved that.
I liked that once we sort of got to more into the park, you could tell that it was an activity that, the people that lived there, that was like their family activity, so we kind of got to see how Mexicans sort of really enjoyed this place, and there was, different, it was sort of entertaining in a way that you can just people watch and look at the lake and, kind of have a better understanding about what people do on their Sundays.
We were walking through, and it was really nice sights everywhere, and then it was kind of like foresty, I guess, but then we walked a little further, and then it got more urban, I guess, and there were more like street vendors, like people walking around, which was nice.
At first, I thought it was kind of like a more low-key type of park, because I didn't really see that many people when we were first there. And then we walked into it, and there were a whole bunch of people there. They had like a body of water. They had like people out in the water and stuff like that, and walking around. I was like, wow, there's a lot of people here. So I thought the park was nice because it has some areas that are very quiet for, like, I don't know, if you don't like the noise as much, and then they have this whole other part that's like very full of life.
If you were just walking through a national park in America, you'd know that you were in America, but going through that national park, you could see the care that they actually take in like presenting it to the people and letting people use it.
I had been there before when Tanya was very young, and we had always stayed in one part of the park, but we crossed it, and it was very wooded in the places that we crossed, and it was really quite lovely. And then we got to the very inhabited area that I had been in before. There was a zoo, and there was also a big lake with the city in the background, and there are many, many people doing various things in the park. A lot of people selling, a lot of vendors selling things. It was Sunday, and so it was a very busy day, and I thought it was quite lovely.
I'd really like to go back with Barbara sometime and do that again.
In general, I really liked the outdoor spaces that they had, like at the end of some of the galleries, you could walk outside, and they had some structures. There was a lot of really beautiful pottery, like stonework, and the sundial. I thought that was one of my favorite things inside the museum.
There were like mini pyramids in some places, which were really cool. You couldn't climb them up. You couldn't climb up them, of course, but they were interesting to look at. It had like information plaques that you could look at too, which was cool.
I liked the paintings. I thought the paintings were very, they had a lot of different, like, very interesting colors in them, and I ended up taking a lot of pictures of the paintings, and I don't know, I guess the style too, like the style of the paintings. I think that was something that throughout like going through the museum really caught my eye.
I liked the waterfall, the man-made waterfall that they had going. I got a whole bunch of good pictures of it. That's probably mostly why I liked it. But it was a great way to open, like a great opening to the museum. When you first walk in after you give them the ticket, that's like the first thing that you see. So kind of like you start on a high note, and then you slowly learn more about the culture and the past and the present and everything about Mexico.
It's hard to say what I liked best because I loved it. It was graceful and beautiful and huge. And I had been there a number of times before, but I don't think I fully appreciated it because since then, Paul and I have been to many anthropological museums in Central and South America. And this was absolutely the best, one of the best museums I've ever seen. Their artifacts and art of the indigenous people were magnificent and so well preserved. It was just a fantastic museum.
The Anthropological Museum was, and I think Barbara will confirm this, the most impressive and extraordinary museum that of that kind for anthropology that I've ever seen, and Barbara and I have seen a lot of museums. And it had a collection of ancient sculptures and deities and artifacts that were just breathtaking.
They're amazing to see in person. You can't really imagine, like just from seeing a pyramid, you know, in a photograph or on TV, like what it's like to really experience when you're there and it's right there in front of you. So it was really, it was quite an experience to see them right there, and then to be able to climb them, which was a challenge, but a good challenge. And so I felt pretty accomplished when I made it to the top of the Sun Pyramid. I can cross that off my bucket list.
The pyramids were very, it was beautiful. You could see the moon pyramid, and it was like shorter, and then we climbed up it, which was really fun. And it didn't take a long time. It was only like one long flight of stairs. And we got up, and then we went back down, and we took a short walk to the Sun Pyramid, and that was very tall, and I enjoyed climbing up it, even though it was a hike, I guess. And when we got to the top, there's an amazing view of like a 360-degree view of like Mexico from where we were, and yeah, it was amazing.
I enjoyed going to the pyramids. It was hot. It was very hot that day, so that wasn't that fun. But actually climbing up the pyramids and being it, first of all, seeing them, like how big they were in person, because you see them all the time on TV and documentaries and stuff, and you kind of say to yourself, oh, that's pretty big. But when you see it in person and you climb up, even in La Pirámide de la Luna, we climbed up to the first level type thing, and it was already pretty high, and I liked the pyramids a lot.
That was actually one of my favorite parts of the entire trip. I didn't get to go all the way up the Sun Pyramid because I do not like heights, just like my grandma. But getting to the top of the Moon Pyramid and just being able to look out on the entire thing, you're really able to see how much work got put into it. And even with today's technology, it would have been hard to do. But back then, when they had nothing, literally nothing except people, it's super impressive.
I enjoyed it more through the eyes of my grandchildren and my husband and my daughter, who love going up and down the pyramids. And I, unfortunately, was very adverse to doing that, because I remember the last time I was there and climbing the pyramids and getting so far up and looking down and saying, I'll never make it down, and coming down on my rear end. So I didn't attempt going up this time. And I missed a lot of fun by being such a coward. But nevertheless, I didn't fall down the pyramids and break my head.
I climbed one pyramid, the first pyramid. I can't remember the name of it. I think it was the Moon Pyramid I climbed all the way to the top. Very pleased with myself. However, when I got through climbing the Moon Pyramid and getting this extraordinary view down the sort of the valley of the pyramids and into the distance, and I got down from that pyramid, I found that my legs were really kind of shaky. So I only made it about half, maybe. I'm giving myself credit for 3/4 of the way up the Sun Pyramid. But it was a lot of fun, and I kind of wish that I'd made the extra effort to go up to the top of the Sun Pyramid. But I got a great view up there, and when I was looking down from the Sun Pyramid, I got a nice view of Barbara talking to another tourist.
Oh, of course, I love snorkeling. That was nice. That was sort of a nice contrast to the more, that's definitely a touristy thing to do, but sort of the touristy sightseeing things we did in Mexico City. So snorkeling felt sort of like very relaxing, and you're just sort of swimming around there, and I love the ocean so much there that it was a nice activity, really fun to do.
Snorkeling was fun in Cosemel, but I would just like it if there were more fish in the water. There were a fish. I remember there was like a big group of fish where we were at one point when there was I don't know if it was like a small boat that sunk or like an anchor or something, but there were like some fish, like schools of fish near that. But other than that, there weren't many places that you could find lots of fish. Other than that, snorkeling was fun. It was a new experience too, yeah.
It was my first time snorkeling. I thought it was very nice at first, but then we had the other tour groups that kind of kept getting closer to us, and they scared a lot of the fish away. But in the first few minutes, I thought there were a good amount of fish, and it was cool being in the water, swimming out there, and being able to see a few different locations.
Snorkeling in Cosemel was super fun. It was a first experience for me. I have never officially done a snorkeling trip before, and being able to actually go out into the ocean and see the wildlife was awesome. I really liked it.
I have been snorkeling many places in the world, and that was the worst snorkeling I've ever had. The kids enjoyed it. They haven't been snorkeling before, so they weren't aware of the plants on the bottom of the sea and the really so many fish and so many different multicolored fish. But there were fish there. Some places we went 3 or 4 places, and some places there were hardly any fish. But there were fish in a few of the places, but it wasn't like other places I had been. So even though I enjoyed it somewhat, I could have enjoyed it a lot more had people not been killing off the reefs.
In the first place that we went snorkeling, I had difficulty getting in the water, and I actually didn't get in the water until the second spot where we did some snorkeling. Finally, on the second time, I did get into the water because they put the ladder down for me, and I was able to enjoy some snorkeling, and I think I saw maybe even a fish while we were snorkeling, maybe 2.
I've never jet skied before, and it was kind of hard at first, steering and going fast at the same time. So I kind of got the hang of it though, so by the end of my turn it was pretty easy, I guess, but it was really fun.
Going across the water, we went to we took a taxi out to this kind of resort type thing, and we rented the jet skis there, and it was really fun, and I'm definitely going to be jet skiing again in my life, hopefully very soon.
For the short amount of time that we did get the jet ski, it was like, it was just amazing. It's like driving on an engine, and that's it, which is awesome.
I think probably maybe there was, we could have gone to some of the other museums in Mexico City, even explored some of like the neighborhoods that we didn't get to explore, because when I went shopping with the boys, we got to this neighborhood that was kind of, sort of cool and had little shops, and I think the type of thing we were sort of looking for when we walked around on our trek, that we didn't find any stores, but that was the kind of place where it would have been nice to, explore more, so there were cafes and things like that.
I also did like that first boat ride from Cancun to Cozumel, even though it wasn't really planned, and it wasn't really something that like you thought could have been like cool, but I don't know, I thought looking at Cancun when we were going to Cozumel the whole time was cool, and seeing like I could still see a little bit of Cancun in the horizon when we got to Cozumel. I thought that was really cool too.
I'd love to go back to Mexico. Mexico City, there was so much more to see, and we only saw we were only there for a few days, and there's so much to see there, and I was thinking about it after, because there were in the park that we went to, there were 2 other museums that we didn't even see in the park that we were at for one day, and stuff like that, and the city's so big, but it's just like things like that just make me think there's so much more we can see here. And Cozumel too is a nice relaxing place, so definitely like to go back there too.
I feel like there are a lot of things we could have done, and I know that only going to 2 places for 10 days, even if they are so far apart, that you really don't get a good scope of an entire country by going to 2 places for less than 2 weeks. So I feel like there's definitely more that we could have experienced, so there's definitely more to do if we go on a second trip.
The best thing about this whole trip was being with family. I loved spending time with Tanya and Jordan, Tristan, and Marcus and Paul. And we just get along really well as a family, and sometimes the kids don't get along as well as we all get along together. And we went out to eat. We had some fun times eating in restaurants, and just walking through Chapultepec Park was fun. And these kids are growing up so fast, so I really, really enjoy spending such good quality time with them.
Yes, I would want to return to Mexico, and I would want to go back to the Anthropological Museum, and as I said, I'd want to go to the other 2 museums, and I'd want to see some other things, because I'm sure Mexico City has a lot more to offer.
Yeah, we did a lot, and we had a lovely time, so I think for the amount of days we had, we covered a lot of ground, and we got to relax, which I really like too.
Hoy que vengo a saludarte, venimos todos con gusto y placer a felicitarte.